is Inside Out.
Inside Out is presented by HTC. This is life. Connect with it. And Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food where Mama eats. Along with the McGuire Law Firm. Be kind today and tomorrow.
Hello, friends. Well, as you can see from my attire, this is the October Inside Out. We're going to visit a pecan farm. We're going to meet a local who portrays Rosie the Riveter. How about the Grand Strand Down Syndrome Society? And then there's an author and an artist who have teamed up together to bring us a hot new book. But as you can see, we're at the Cherry Grove Pier. So while I'm here in Cherry Grove, I thought I would visit with one of the longtime, most respected businesses here. How about Boulineau's? Since 1948, Boulineau's has been such an important part of the Cherry Grove area in North Myrtle Beach. And this is why. Frank and Elizabeth Boulineau. They are, well, they're royalty around here. There's no doubt about it. They're humble about it. Now, Elizabeth says she's not going to talk, but you know how that is. Frank says he's going to do the talking. It's so great to have you both here, and you're so loved in this community.
Well, good morning. It's good to be here.
How did all this get started?
Well, it actually started a long time before 1948. My grandparents bought a house here in 1935. So Boulineau's has been part of the community actually since the middle 30s. My father loved to fish, and we had a store. He had a store in Bishopville and one in Sumter. And he actually told a local person, Phil Permenter, which had a store down there, if ever wanted to sell it, he'd like to move to the beach. So in 1948, my father bought the store from Phil Permenter. People think he came to the beach to run a grocery store. He really came to the beach to fish, because that's what he loved to do. So since 1948, Boulineau's has been part of the community, and we've continued to grow since then.
Grow, my goodness, massive growth, Frank. I mean, you used to be on a corner, now you're like right up the whole highway.
Well, we were married to my wife here, Elizabeth, in 1968. Shortly after that, we actually bought an old discount store, which is where we're sitting today, actually, and turned it into a grocery store. And this building has been continued to grow from 10,000 feet. Now we're 90,000 square feet with a little bit of everything, from a salad bar to a big deli, to a bakery, just everything. We make homemade sausage in our meat department. We have an upstairs that has all kind of stuff in it. Anything you might need for your condo or for your house or to decorate, we have it all.
You know, it seems that when people want anything, even nautical items, beach towels, blankets, they come here because they know you'll have it.
Yes, and we do a good job of having merchandise. Of course, now during the pandemic, it's kind of hard on certain things, but we still have the merchandise. And a lot of the big boxes in town send customers to us. We get a lot of customers from the XYZ department stores in town because they don't have it, and they'll send them to Boulineau's or Boulineau's Ace to buy the product.
I know that you're very proud, too, Frank and Elizabeth, of your employees, because without them, you'd be nothing.
You're exactly right. It takes employees to make a great business like this work. We've had a lot of employees work for us over 30 years, which I think says a lot. 30 years ago, we didn't have a lot of employees. We've grown a lot since then. But we have a lot of very dedicated employees, and especially during the last year and a half with everything going on, they've been very dedicated and done a great job for us.
What I love is when you come into the store, there's no other store like it that gives you a personal welcome from the owners and a map of all of the businesses. I mean, you've got the hardware store, gas station, you've got everything up the road. How many employees in all?
We have about 275 total employees in our company, and a lot of those are year-round employees. Of course, we hire a few extra ones in the summertime when we can get them. Of course, as everybody knows, this last year, employment has been tough, and people haven't had to work in a lot of cases, but we've done a good job of keeping our businesses open, where a lot of businesses in town have had to cut their hours back. A lot of restaurants in town have had to close 2 or 3 days, but we haven't done that. We've been open our regular hours all season.
I know you want to thank all your many customers before we talk about food, because without them, you couldn't have kept the doors open. And you've got one very special customer who likes to come in here.
Must be talking about Vanna White.
Yeah.
Yes, we sure do. An interesting story. About 4 or 5 years ago, she came in to buy a fishing license for her son, and she told the employee she was Vanna White, and the employee didn't believe her. She had to show the employee her driver's license before she believed that.
Well, without makeup and hair, and Vanna likes to wear a ball cap and no makeup.
She certainly does, yes.
Any final words about this wonderful business that has given you an incredible career, you and Elizabeth?
Well, we've had a great partnership, the two of us, for 53 years, I believe it is now. And we've done real good. We have a lot of very dedicated employees, which have made Boulineau's a great company. We've expanded a lot of things. We do everything now from Platt Seafood to a couple of convenience stores to an Ace Hardware store. So the community has been very good to us. They've treated us very good.
You've been very good to the community. There's not a single nonprofit activity that happens in this community that Boulineau's is not a part of. And those of you who live here know that to be the truth. Elizabeth and Frank, I thank you so much. We're going to turn it over to Anna. And Anna is going to fill us in on food because after all, you're going to want to get your Thanksgiving turkey right here at Boulineau's.
That's right, Diane. You can start ordering your turkey dinners right now. We have a variety of options with whole turkeys, boneless turkey breast, all kinds of side, mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, collard greens, everything that you can imagine, homemade stuffing. And those orders are coming in now, and a variety of options. We have a catering menu on our website. We also offer all full service on and off-site catering.
Wow, this is Anna Bauer. She's the communications director here at Boulineau's. And it's so interesting that how everything started out in 1948 as a grocery store, and now it's more than that kind of food. You even have a hot bar. People come in right after work and stock up.
We do. We have a variety of options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have daily lunch and dinner specials. They're available to go, or you can eat here in our dining room or in our lighthouse seating area upstairs with beautiful views of the Atlantic Ocean.
You've got a great deli. I know people come in and get lunch to go.
We have made-to-order sandwiches. We have fresh sushi made daily, and the salad bar just can't be beat. It's the biggest one in North Myrtle Beach.
It might be the biggest one in town. It is awesome. It's colorful. It's always clean. And then I love the ice cream area because I am an ice cream queen.
We do have hand-dipped fresh Bluebell ice cream, and of course our bakery department is right over there as well, and their treats are unbelievably delicious and very low calorie, wink, wink.
After talking to Frank and Elizabeth and hearing about how many employees they have in all of the Boulineau's stores, we didn't talk about the fact that there's new Boulineau's working here, the younger set.
Yeah, Jackson, he's awesome. He's a cashier. I know he's going to school, so he works part-time, I believe, on the weekends. But in the summer, he's here all summer long. He's just got such a big personality. He's such a charming young man. And then we have Betsy. She works with us up in the office, and she's just an amazing wealth of knowledge, and she's learning the ins and outs of everything here at the store, and she's such a sweet person. We just love her. This is like family. I came from corporate America, and making the transition from corporate America to a small mom and pop business was a bit of an adjustment, but I love it because when you join this team, you become part of the family.
And speaking of family, you know, I think about the Boulineau's as the king and queen of Cherry Grove. They are so benevolent, and I'm sure that when nonprofits come to you, you can't do everything, but they pretty much do.
They are two of the most kind and generous people that I have ever had the blessing and good fortune to meet. They sponsor an annual beach sweep cleanup. They give to the Children's Hospital annually. They have free parking across the street, 150 parking spaces for those visiting the beach and can't afford to pay for parking. They're just kind, generous, giving people.
And I think everyone who lives here certainly knows that. And wrapping up, what else would you like to say in salute to Boulineau's?
Well, first of all, if you want something, anything for the beach, Boulineau's will have it. You want fresh, hot food, a delicious, tasty, fresh salad, sushi, homemade fried chicken is awesome. Their fried chicken is the best around. If we don't have it, you don't need it. So Boulineau's is where everybody goes.
And then obviously when you're doing your shopping in general, the grocery store, the largest one in town.
And our meat department is amazing. As I've mentioned, our baked goods, we've got fresh seafood options, great grocery choices, local stuff that you can choose from as well. It's just an amazing store.
We are so proud to salute Boulineau's right here on HTC Inside Out. They're just among the best people and the best stores around. Thanks so much, Anna.
Thank you.
A beautiful pecan farm in Bucksville, up next on Inside Out.
As fellow community members, HTC knows the precious value of family time spent together. That's why HTC delivers faster speeds, 24/7 local tech support, and free Wi-Fi. No matter where the day takes me, HTC serves up the world-class high-speed internet you need to stay connected to your world. Because you are here, and so are we.
High-speed internet starting at 300 megabits per second and up to 1 gig for as low as $49.95.
HTC. This is life. Connect with it.
This segment of Inside Out is brought to you by Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food, where Mama eats.
We're in Bucksville, and that's located right off of 701 in Conway. And whether you say pecan or pecan, how about this beautiful farm? Gorgeous trees, Andrew Ridge. This place is gorgeous.
Yes, ma'am.
But before we talk about farming, this is not what you do full-time for a living.
This is not. This is something that actually got started within the past year, but my wife and myself and my brother-in-law and his family were actually in the insurance business.
Tell me about your insurance company.
Well, we do life, accident, and health. We don't do the property and casualty, the homeowners and vehicles. We do more or less health insurance, group insurance, individual, family. We do a lot with Medicare, which enrollment period's right around the corner. And that's basically what, as far as the insurance, that's what we do.
You and Jamie work the business together, and I think that's awesome, but you also work this farm together. How did this come into play?
Well, it starts with our primary residence, which about 5 years ago, we purchased our home, which now sits on roughly about 12 acres. And we have 7 acres on this 12 acres and never really cared about pecans or anything farming them. We just thought they were pretty looking. So we then in return bought the property next to us, and kind of one thing led to another, and we decided this past year to give it a shot. And along with Bruce McLean at Clemson Extension, he's been kind of overseeing the process. We're a little bit ahead of the game because most people that want to start farming, they start from scratch. Where these pecans, they're put in 1996 and put in roughly about 550 of the total 500, or the total 50 acres, excuse me. And what we currently have is about 115. 2 types. We have Stewarts and Cape Fears, which are type 1, have to have a cross-pollinator. And not bees, but actually wind.
Wind does the action.
Wind does the pollination. So we're learning, and slowly but surely, and something I believe we're going to enjoy in the future, and hopefully the community of Conway will.
So what kind of equipment do you need to get into farming like this? And how do you get the pecans out of the trees?
Well, that's a good question. You need a lot of equipment. You really only use that equipment one time a year, and like a shaker. A shaker would shake the pecans to the ground.
Really?
And
an equipment that will just shake the tree?
Almost like a lull, if people out there would know what a lull is. It's kind of like a long forklift that will stick to the base of the tree and vibrate the whole tree, and will actually shake all the pecans, the majority of them, out. There's also a shaker that will hook to a PTO of a tractor that you can back in there and shake all the pecans, which is a cheaper way to go about doing it, but you destroy your tractor, and you'll get yourself a concussion at the same time, because if you don't have a canopy on the tractor, all those nuts will fall on top of you, your tractor, and it's not a good feeling. So my case right now is I have a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old son that they're my tree shaker. So
really?
I get them in the trees. We had a good crop last year. This year we really didn't touch it. So hopefully going to get it off the ground, really off the ground, and this coming next year from this fall. And then also we'll have hopefully peach trees, over 100 peach trees in this field that y'all can't see.
And the peach trees, they kind of fertilize themselves.
They're self-pollinators, so you don't really need a type 1, type 2, or cross-pollinator, which is, they start yielding peaches typically year 2-3 of the existence of the peaches. And we're going to do O. Henrys and Albertas. Those are the 2 types, even though you only just need 1, but we're going to do 2. So we'll have a fall crop and then a spring or a late summer crop.
And speaking of that, obviously pecans are a fall crop, and in November and December they usually are fruitful.
Really, the end of September all the way through the end of November. Here, this part of South Carolina is really, you're going to have end of October, into November.
Before we talk to Jamie about some of her favorite pecan recipes, just tell me about the history, because you said the McCutcheon family really named this place as well as handled it in the past. The
McCutcheon family, which is tied to the Reinhardt family, which is that road across the street, was all roughly a little over a 50-acre farm. The McCutcheons in '69 built our house, in return started these pecans you see used to be tobacco fields. And when tobacco kind of became obsolete for people really farming like they did in the 80s and or 70s and 80s, in the mid-90s they decided to plant these 550 pecan trees. And one thing led to another, where people passed away that initially had the dream of this, and then the family kind of just let it go on and really just became a pretty sight versus something that produces pecans, I guess. So we're really excited about what
you should be. The property is beautiful, and it's just nice to talk to some young new farmers in the business. And right now we're going to talk to Jamie, Andrew's wife, and my question for you, Jamie, is what's your favorite pecan recipe?
All right, I just came up with a new recipe. It's not really mine. I kind of tweaked a different recipe I found. But I took a spice cake mix, just very simple because I don't do anything from scratch. Added chopped pecans, a can of pumpkin puree, and 1/4 cup of water. And you put them in like little mini muffin tins, bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. Then I topped them with cream cheese icing, sprinkled some cinnamon on top, and some more chopped up pecans.
Well, I sure wish you had some right here, Jamie. That sounds delicious.
They were actually really good.
Do you ever just take pecans and put butter and roast them in the oven with salt, or do you ever do just something simple?
I've tried the candied pecans. I'm not a huge baker. I'm learning, but I'm not a huge baker. But my mom and my stepmom are phenomenal at coming up with different recipes. So
they'll be handling Thanksgiving,
yes,
right?
They will.
Now, as young new farmers who really had no intention of getting into farming, what have been the big issues?
Unfortunately, COVID put us behind, which is crazy, but it did, because it pushed back. Even just getting our farm number took months. Like, I had to fill out the paperwork. They had to quarantine the paperwork. Then it took, I want to say, I had to wait like 4 or 5 weeks. And I even called and I'm like, what is happening? But at the time, because of COVID, the people who issue the farm numbers were actually having to issue building permits as well, because that office was closed because of COVID. So everything has really set us back. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to buy equipment because our building had not been built yet. We actually just had our Morton building put up about a month ago. So we're in the process of getting that finished out. So it just really set us back. We hadn't been able to spray. We haven't been able to do anything because we haven't been able to purchase the equipment we need.
Yeah, I guess people never even thought about how COVID has affected farming in general.
Yeah, no, I really didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal either until, like I said, we had nowhere to store the equipment. So we had nowhere, to put it, so we couldn't spray, we couldn't do anything.
It's so hard for young people to get into farming today, and you've actually been told that by many professionals, and yet You're doing it.
We're trying. we're working on it. But yeah, unfortunately, I was told unless you inherit it or you marry into it, it's really hard to get into farming.
And luckily for you guys, you bought a house from a farmer, and it just happened to come with some pecan trees.
We inherited our trees.
I love it. I love it.
Now we will be adding the peaches, so that'll be something new for us, and we're learning. We're getting there. But Bruce has been a really big help.
And that's Bruce with Clemson.
Yes.
And finally, you have some dreams for the farm too, in the way of inviting people to come out.
Yes, eventually. We've actually been stopped. We've been working in the pecans before, and we actually had a woman stop and ask if she could take her bridal portraits. And at the time we were like, no, we've got to check with our insurance. Like, we don't even know how that process works. And so I think that's something that we're going to look into later on. We actually took some family photos behind our house, I made some big hay bales and draped some blankets with pumpkins. So we may start doing stuff like that in the trees and opening that up to different photographers if they want to come in and, do some family shoots or even some bridal portraits.
Well, I wish both of you incredible luck as you pursue more pecans and as the peaches start to grow. And maybe when you get all your peaches, we'll come back out and do another interview now that we broke you and Andrew into TV. They said, well, we can't do this. We're new. We don't know anything about farming, but they were fabulous. Let's hear it for Jamie and Andrew Ridge.
Thank you.
Best wishes to you both.
Thank you so much.
The love of the sea depicted in a hot new book right after this break. Proper serving, proper distancing. We're into safety at Magnolia's. Our staff now plates your food with all your favorite choices from the buffet, salad bar, and dessert bar, and it's still all you can eat. There's also breakfast, evening, and an expanded Sunday buffet. Mama says she can't cook it that cheap. Plus, the kids will love the yummy ice cream machine. Named Small Business of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce. Magnolia's, it's where Mama eats. It doesn't seem like this would be the time of year that you would see butterflies everywhere. But believe it or not, that's the topic of this month's video. If you love all the water that surrounds us as much as I do, then you're going to love the book Tales of the Tide. And it was written by John Milton Pruitt, who's with us right now. We're at his home in Garden City on this beautiful dock, and I can see why you love this area. But I want you to tell us how the book came to be. As a career banker, did you really expect to be an author?
Oh, I did not. And good to see you again, Diane. And yes, this is my happy place. This literally right here. This is what I think about. I lived on Maryland's Eastern Shore until graduating from college, and then moved here and lived here for 15 years, where I met my wife, and we had our daughter Anna. I guess it really took when my job relocated me. It took that prompting to get me to write some of the stories, some of the memories down that I've cherished for so long. We've maintained a property here that we vacation to quite often. But I thought so much about this place, and I think so much about it, that I just thought it made sense to write some of the stories down that evolved into what you now see as a coffee table book, which we're proud of. The stories about locals, watermen, recipes, how-to, some of the history of the coast. It's been a fun project.
The love that you have for the area, Maryland included, the love you have for the water here, and the stories, you can hear the love, you can feel the love, but actually the book is so unique, you can see the love.
You can. That is what makes this book, I think, a little bit unique in that the stories are authentic. The artwork was commissioned by my good friend Bruce Chandler, and then the videos can be launched at the end of each story that depict the subject of the story and the artwork. So it could be about an old waterman or Native American history with Bruce's beautiful paintings, and then you take your phone and launch through the QR code a 2 to 5 minute video that is really as much about this place right here within a mile or so of this place, and it just sort of completes a story. You have all the senses, sight, sound, of the place that we love so much.
Yeah, I've never seen a book where you could pull up the QR code and then show video.
Yeah.
It's really a cool concept.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bruce Chandler, and we'll be interviewing Bruce here in just a moment. And of course, she's so well known and loved, the queen artist of Georgetown County,
She
for
is that.
sure. Her work, you can tell that you guys did some collaborating. You must have talked a lot beforehand, because your stories match up with the passion she has in her art.
That is an understatement. Bruce was so patient with me. We would talk about the story. We would take photos of the different places, videos in some cases, and we would talk for hours about, you know, how we wanted the art to complement the story and then roll into the video, which again, in many cases, is a rendering of the actual subject that was written about. Like I said, an old crabber, or the Garden City Pier, or the jetties, or all the wonderful places that we have surrounding us now.
What was the most challenging part of the book?
Oh gosh, other than the fact that I'm not an experienced author, I had to use spell check quite a bit, but I would say the video, only because it is so weather dependent, so circumstantial, that if we wanted to film sunrise or catching fish on the jetties or throwing a cast net, Mother Nature always played a role in that, and that took us a little longer than we thought, but Marsh Dean, who was a videographer, did a wonderful job, as did Bruce, in really capturing what we wanted to complement the stories.
You mentioned recipes, and what recipe do you think is one of the best in here?
Oh, well, I'm a little biased. I still have Maryland in my blood, so Maryland steamed crabs. I know in South Carolina and
we're not going to argue that our crabs are better than Maryland.
Low country.
Nobody can do that.
You all boil them. We steam them in Maryland. So low country boil, just seasonal and regional recipes. Not overly complicated, but quite honestly, the recipes are as much about the socialization, where you cook it, and the people around you, and the smells, more than some complicated list of seasonings.
Let's just mention, I just pulled up one story, bird brains.
Yeah.
Kind of give us a little synopsis of the kind of things you talk about in the book pertaining to bird brains.
Yeah, well, I was fascinated with birds as a child, as a boy, as I'm sure most are. But having grown up on the coast, I've had the blessing of seeing and being around coastal birds, migratory birds. And I was just so fascinated about how they were so different from one another. An oyster catcher, a pelican, an osprey, a marsh hen, they may travel from 5,000 or 10,000 miles away. They are equipped to do different things, get an oyster out of a shell, or dive, on a school of bait fish. And I've just been fascinated with that. So Bird Brains is really about the unique facets and features of coastal birds.
What do you hope that people get from the book? It says here, experiencing the southeastern coast through essays, artwork, photography, and video. Tales of the Tide. What do you hope people gain from it all?
Well, that's a good question. Different people will gain different things depending on their knowledge and familiarity of the coast. But I would hope that some, whether you're local or not to this place, would learn that there's more than meets the eye. The ocean is beautiful, the marsh is beautiful, but do more than just look at it, learn about it, use it, explore it. And that would probably be my goal if a kid or an adult learned how to throw a cast net or how to cook shrimp or get up on a surfboard, for that matter. That would be a real success.
So, John, where do you think you got your love of all of this?
Oh, that's not complicated. That was from my father, Jack Pruitt. He taught me to love this place. He taught me about this place. I grew up duck hunting on Maryland's eastern shore, fishing and wading the banks of the Chesapeake Bay, riding on the beach in the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Assateague Island, Maryland. He had a passion. He was a soft-spoken man, but he had a passion for this place that was just so easily seen, and it made my experiences on the coast that much more special to have spent those times with him and to learn from him, and my uncles and cousins and mother and sister. But my dad is the one that taught me to love this place.
And then from the many years that you lived here at this beautiful home here and this great dock in Garden City, you said to me earlier that you see things that people don't see because you look. For instance, you say the grass will change colors in a matter of hours.
It is. This is a living, breathing, literally breathing, dynamic ecosystem. The tide rolls in and out twice a day. It feeds this marsh. The marsh grass, the Spartina grass, I think is how you pronounce it, it will look different in August than May, and I think it's as pretty in January when it's golden as is in April when it's light green. It's just an amazing place.
Tales of the Tide, it says, illustrated by Bruce Chandler and film and photography by Marsh Dean. Author John Milton Pruitt. No matter where you want to put it in your house, coffee table, dining room table, kitchen table, you will love it. Thank you, John, for this interview. And thanks for enlightening us on your love of the water, especially here in Garden City and Murrells Inlet.
You're welcome.
Don't miss artist Bruce Chandler. She's coming up right after this.
Honey, I think I'll adjust the thermostat. It's getting a little cool.
Mom, you don't have to get up to do that. I've installed the HTC Connected Home app on your phone. See, you can adjust the temperature from anywhere. Okay, Mom, I've got to go. Thanks for house sitting. Make sure to lock the door and set the alarm.
No problem. I have everything I need right here.
HTC Self-Install Kit, $0 with 36-month monitoring commitment.
HTC, this is life. Connect with it.
Well, a few moments ago, we interviewed John Milton Pruitt and his book, Tales of the Tide, and I would have been chewed up and spit out if I didn't interview Bruce Chandler, who did the artwork in the book. She is the queen of art for Georgetown County and always has been. And even though she's lived in Charlotte over the past couple of years, she returns to the area many times to teach classes. And you've got one coming up, I guess, right after the first of the year, Bruce.
I've got I do an annual show there. Jim is always let me do that.
At the Rice
Have
Museum.
a show, yeah. And it started off actually because February was just a month that he seemed to have trouble getting people to show, and so I just come every February. Sometimes it slides to March, but we work with that. And because I paint in different techniques and things, my shows are different too. And people always comment that this show's nothing like the last one. The paintings don't look like they were stamped out because there'll be a watercolor and acrylic. So they're fun to see, I think.
And of course, you have lots of work that's for sale at the Rice Museum as well.
Jim Fitch at the Rice Museum has more of my paintings than I do. And so he keeps rotating a little display. And when people come in and say, but I'm looking for something bigger or something, more specific, they say, well, come look at this. And I understand that people just love flipping the paintings and feeling like they found something.
I'm sure you had a real challenge here with Tales of the Tide from the standpoint of you grew up on a farm. You didn't grow up in the water or around the water. So tell me how the book transpired.
Well, I had this art student that was the sweetest girl in the world, and she was single, but she had eyes on this young man named Pruitt, and they became engaged and got married. And I sort of followed them and stayed friends because they moved to Atlanta after a few years, and we're just fast friends today. So it just sort of fell in that direction, I would say. But then once I got old enough to drive, I didn't stay on that farm as far as the water and the beach and the marsh were. I just had to come. I gravitated in this direction, and most of the time lived right around water.
And of course, so when John handed you these stories from the book, you were able to feel that love because you had experienced it.
He sent me the stories, and I never left my chair. I just had to read. I couldn't put it down. I just had to keep going and reading how he saw things and how he put things together, and the humor in the story, in a lot of the stories. It's just, people are going to love that.
What was one of the most fun things for you to paint in the book?
Well, I tell you what, I don't think there was one that I didn't enjoy, but the biggest challenge for me that was the water in one of the paintings that's called On the Rocks. I felt that water, and I loved painting it.
I mean, we have squid, we have octopus. There are a lot of things that probably you might have never painted before. I mean, had you ever done anything like this?
I had done jellyfish, but they were the Medusa jellyfish with the tentacles hanging down with a pretty frilly collar. And that's, I think, what hits your mind the most, unless you are from the area and you're stepping over the cannonballs at that time of year when you see them on the beach. But certainly I had not painted a cannonball jellyfish.
Let's talk about Perry's Bait and Tackle, and we've got that right behind you there. It's beautiful. I love all the colors.
The colors, they just dance to me. And that was one of the first ones that I painted, actually. And that was very exciting as well. And of course, I met John down here several times, and we would go to these places. And so when you paint a painting that you have walked into that scene and you have smelled the fish market and, just all those things, it makes you want to paint that painting and just kind of get into it.
I know over the years, Bruce, you've painted a lot of birds, but some of your birding in this book is just spectacular.
Well, it's so easy because they're right out there. So easy.
Easy for you?
No.
When did you start painting?
I didn't really hold a paintbrush in my hand till I was an adult. I would go around the farm with my pencil and paper. Didn't have art classes in school out in the country, and there was no one to teach. There were no art teachers, and so it was after I went to college, I took a little bit of art, but very quickly gravitated to the ceramic class that was next door because I didn't have the background that the other students had, and that at that age was a little bit intimidating, but then I got a year or two older and lived in the right place and went to art school.
Bruce, was this one of the most challenging things you've done so far in your life, helped to bring a book to life?
Probably the most fun thing, yeah. And a big challenge, of course, because I was trying to see things as John saw them. And John's an artist. He's an artist with words, but he's an artist in what he sees. And you just want to present it, and needed to, I needed to present it as he saw it, and hope I got almost there. You just can't do what John can do.
So now that the book is done, what do you think? Is there anything you look at and say, oh, I think I could have done this better? Or are you just incredibly proud?
Well, let's go to the book in its entirety. I think the thing that makes this book a special book, not just for me, but for the people who are going to own this book, is the fact that the writing, and John put this together this way, and he really worked that it was a book that flowed. It flows from the storyline through the paintings and into the videography, and I just think it's just remarkable. I can sit in Charlotte and be right here. And you can do that with a lot of books. If you are a reader, you can be there, but to be able to hear the water and that fish jump and see that bird take off and keep following that bird, you know, from the eye of an artist, and the videographer was really, really good too.
And finally, now that the book is done, what are you working on in your home studio?
I'm working with all different mediums. For the show, for example, I'm studying things that I'm going to have in that show, and there's going to be a mixture again, like I usually have. There'll be encaustic and acrylic and watercolor, and there'll be some jelly prints, which are prints that you do off of a gelatin type block.
Huh.
There'll be, you know, I've got some prints that are done off of a wood block, and so I just have a good time.
Well, if you want to know when Bruce's show is going to be, stay in touch with Jim Fitch at the Rice Museum, but also know that Bruce has work in the permanent exhibit at the Burroughs and Chapin Art Museum in Myrtle Beach, but she sells her work through the Rice Museum in Georgetown. The book is Tales of the Tide, and you can get it at the Rice Museum or by contacting John Milton Pruitt at this website. Thank you so much, my dear. I remember interviewing you 25 years ago, and it's so nice that we're back together again. You are a blessing to this community, having taught thousands of people art.
Absolutely a pleasure for me, Diane, to see you and be with you again.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Next, Tony Zito, an outstanding volunteer for the Graham Strand Down Syndrome Society.
As fellow community members, HTC believes in helping friends and neighbors protect what matters most. With integrated home technology, I can control my home and security system from my smartphone. HTC Security makes my job easier and keeps my world running smoothly, no matter where the day takes me. HTC brings reliable, world-class security right here to Horry and Georgetown counties, because you are here, and so are we.
Upgrade your security with the video doorbell from HTC.
HTC. This is life. Connect with it.
This segment of HTC Inside Out is presented by the McGuire Law Firm. Be kind today and tomorrow.
We're in Myrtle Beach with the Graham Strand Down Syndrome Society. It's a wonderful nonprofit organization serving Horry County. Meet Tony Zito. He's their marketing director. And after talking with him on the phone and now meeting him, I can tell you he loves what he's doing. How about this organization? Tell me about your mission.
The mission of the Graham Strand Down Syndrome Society is to make life better for people with Down syndrome their families and caregivers. We spend time promoting them, bringing joy, hope to families. We put them in situations where the community can see them, and we encourage people to interact with people with Down syndrome. And a lot of people think Down syndrome means children. It's children and adults here in Horry County.
Why have you chosen to get involved in this organization? Because I know you're on the board as well as serving as their marketing director.
Yes, I get asked that question so much. It's kind of, I do not have a child that has Down syndrome. I have a neighbor that's become real close to me. And I was in the healthcare field most of my adult life, and I helped take care of people. And when I look at people that have Down syndrome, they have an extra chromosome. That's why they have Down syndrome. And they were born that way. And I just feel the urge to help them. And you see the smiles on their faces, the hugs that I get, the high fives. It just makes me feel so much better.
I know you love working with the parents too. And it's got to be tough for parents, especially those who work trying to take care of a child or adult with Down syndrome.
Yes, and a lot of the parents, not only do they have a Down syndrome child, but they have another child. They have to, both the mother and father work, so it's a real challenge. And when I retired from the healthcare field and told them I wanted to be their marketing director to get the word out to the community, they go, why? I said, well, there's maybe 2,700 businesses here in Myrtle Beach, and only 3 or 4 know we even exist. And so I started marketing. And I do this because I want to do this. I don't do this for an income. So I donate my time, my love, just because I want to do this.
We're here at your office at the Magnolia Plaza, which is
Correct.
just north of the Galleria in Myrtle Beach. And this is an office that hasn't even been utilized very much because you kind of rented it right around 2020 and everything shut down. So I know you're hoping to make this a meeting place and a joining place for parents and those with Down syndrome.
Yes, when we first got the office 2 years ago, I talked to a lady that was going to teach the children art, another dance teacher, and that fell apart before it started, okay? The pandemic has affected us just like it's affected everybody in the world, and so some of the events that we normally do, we just haven't been able to do because of the safety and the compromised immune system the children have and the adults have that have Down syndrome. So I'm looking forward to better times.
Well, I heard that your last year Buddy Walk in October had to be canceled. You're now looking at this year's October Buddy Walk being canceled. And so you do need money. You need help because the money's used to help entertain these folks. Tell me more.
It's used to entertain them. We also have 3 distinct groups of Down syndrome organizations. An older group, which is called the 321 group, and they're made up of adults out of high school, and we fund all their different activities. And like they may go to play putt-putt one time, they may go to a movie another time, they may go to a baseball game. The last 2 years, they've been meeting just on Zoom. Then we have 2 younger groups that we've just started recently, and we fund them. We also help parents that have a Down syndrome child, and they have no idea what to expect. So we help them with resources, medical, blankets, give them direction where they need to go and all that. And so it's a challenge, okay? And we enjoy doing it though, because we want not only help the people now, but we want to be able to leave a legacy of the Down syndrome people here in Horry County, so people will recognize them. We have one young man, I call him a young man because everybody's younger than me. He's worked for Kroger's for 25 years, okay? I have another gentleman that works with the athletic department of Coastal Carolina. We have a couple now that are in the fast food industry, so our people are in the community.
So tell me about this 321 group. You mentioned it earlier. And what does 321 stand for, Tony?
Okay, so 321 is, is the extra chromosome that people with Down syndrome have, and that's the name of our older group. And again, it's people that are out of high school, and they get together, do different activities. And on March 21st, across the world, it's 321 Day, and what we do is we give people a random act of kindness that day with a little snack on the card explaining the 321 chromosome. When it started out, it was just at the shopping centers. Last year, we handed out 3,000 random act of kindness on that day.
That's amazing. And that's what this is over here?
Yeah, this is the random act. This is the card, and this is the fruit, which I'm going to give to you today as a random act of kindness.
Thank you. But this is great. And then other people can pass on the act of kindness on March 21st.
Yes.
Well, let's hope that next year will be an even better year. And you've got some plans up your sleeve already.
Yes, I do. Okay. So next year, we're hoping to be in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in North Myrtle Beach, okay? The Darlington Racetrack has asked us to come up there on Saturday of Mother's Day weekend and to feature us, okay? We're going to have, hopefully, the Fun Day at the Beach in May, and then we're also hoping to have the Buddy Walk in October.
That'll certainly keep you all busy.
Yes. And Tony's the kind of person that if someone calls me up and they want us to get involved, I say yes. I don't know what the word no means.
Isn't that a good thing for a marketing director? I think so. If you would like to help the Grand Strand Down Syndrome Society, perhaps maybe you're an organization like one of the theaters in town and you've got some free tickets to offer, or in some way you'd like to make a donation, there's the information on the screen. Certainly give Tony a call. He wants to hear from you. Tony, God bless you for all you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
I know the kids and adults love you, and why wouldn't they? You're so dedicated.
Thank you.
So who was Rosie the Riveter? You'll find out when we return with more Inside Out.
When you're seriously injured, where should you turn? Turn to a law firm that has deep roots fighting for members of our community.
McGuire Law Firm is here. The same familiar faces you see on TV or around town are actually the same faces you'll see when you walk into our office.
We're here. We're here.
And we're here. And when the time comes, we'll fight for you every step of the way.
McGuire Law Firm, in your community, fighting for you.
Well, you may remember a couple of months ago, we featured the Festive Brass here on the show, and what an honor. They are going to Honolulu to perform and represent the Myrtle Beach area at the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. But so is this woman, a local actor. She happens to be Rosie the Riveter, Jo Ann Tofu. And Jo Ann, you look adorable, but the message is best of all. Why do you travel around doing Rosie the Riveter?
I was inspired, Diane. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I was inspired by World War II veterans that I met here in Myrtle Beach who told me their stories, and we did some work for the Veterans History Project. And as I started to listen to them, I knew that the message of Rosie the Riveter and women during the Second World War was something that we really wanted to talk about, that needed to be taught to younger people, and older folks needed to be reminded. So I found Rosie and she found me, and the rest is, as they say, history.
I've seen you perform this, and you are phenomenal doing it. And you are willing to go out and perform Rosie the Riveter for people here in the community, not just your episode coming up at Pearl Harbor.
Absolutely. I'm reaching out to the veterans in the area, especially Myrtle Beach area, and coming out to their organizations, doing some meet and greets, thanking them for their service. I'm particularly interested in meeting World War II veterans. So if there's anybody out there that has a family member that's a World War II veteran, or any World War II veterans watching, I would love to meet you, and I'd love to take a photo with you, and I would be honored.
So the planes behind us, of course, we know were planes that flew out of the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base. We know they're not from World War II. But what is the message from World War II that Rosie delivers best? I mean, when you do your performances, it's like an hour to an hour and a half. But what is the main message? What should people come away from your program with in their heart?
The relevance is that we are Americans, and we have always helped one another. And we have so many people on the front lines now that are sort of the Rosie the Riveters of their time. Those who are coming to work when it's difficult, those who are helping one another, those who are reaching out in their communities, those who are making masks. I have lots of friends that are making masks and just sending them away for free. People, that is the spirit of America. And Rosie is that spirit, particularly of the women in America, that we have always been there since the Revolutionary War, and we will always be here. And this is just a reminder of those gals during World War II.
Jo Ann, we've seen Rosie the Riveter portrayed as a young person, an older person. I mean, we've seen her all which ways. And which is your favorite?
Well, I love the young Westinghouse Rosie the
we all wanna
Riveter,
look
who
like
says
that.
we can do it. But I really love Norman Rockwell's because I think that's a much more realistic portrayal of what young women who went into the manufacturing plants looked like. They were not models. They were just young girls. And in addition to that, there were some old girls like myself whose sons fought in the war and some who did not survive the war. And that's just another story. It wasn't just young people. It was everybody.
So when you get to Pearl Harbor, what will you actually be doing?
Well, I'll be going to Pearl Harbor on the 7th in order to appear as Rosie and bring just a little bit of love from us here in Myrtle Beach. And I'll also be reaching out to other veterans organizations to come out and just meet one of the 320,000 or more veterans, World War II veterans that are still with us today.
And I heard that you're going to be joined by someone who actually gave you this special invitation.
I am. May Cryer. May Cryer is responsible for the Congressional Medal of Honor being developed for former Rosie the Riveter. She's 95, still cuts her own lawns.
Wow.
And during the pandemic sewed 6,000 masks in the Rosie the Riveter pattern. And she's just amazing. And she came to my very first show as Rosie the Riveter, and she let me know that I was on the right track. She's very special.
So Jo Ann, other than Rosie the Riveter, though, I know as an actor you do a lot of other characters.
I do. I have 7 one-woman shows. Rosie the Riveter. I have Mrs. Benjamin Franklin, Mrs. Mary Todd Lincoln. I have Anne Bonny, a pirate. I also do someone called the Duchess of Doom for Halloween events. She's pretty amazing. And Nellie Bly, first investigative reporter, female. And just so many, different lectures and things. And if you want to see me as Rosie the Riveter, Diane, on November 7th at 3 o'clock at Peace, Love, and Little Donuts.
Out here?
Yes, out here in the Market Common. I'm going to be doing a show as Rosie the Riveter, so everyone's invited.
And she does a very sweet Mrs. Santa Claus, too.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Jo Ann Tofu. And Jo Ann, all I can say is best wishes to you as you move forward to Pearl Harbor. Bring our love to all of those veterans.
Thank you so much, Diane. I have a present for you. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
So I have your very own Rosie the Riveter bandana, hand sewn by my friend May Cryer, a real Rosie the Riveter. So we can be twins.
I love polka dots. You certainly need to know that. And I don't look anywhere near as cute as you do. I probably look more like, I don't know, basket lady or something. Thank you so much, Jo Ann.
So
and you know
welcome.
what? We can do it. Yes. Good luck, honey.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next month on Inside Out, we're going fishing. You know that crazy guy named Catfish who runs Stalvy's Bait and Tackle in Conway? Well, he's offered to take me fishing. And sometimes you catch them and sometimes you don't. But Catfish says we're gonna slaughter them. I hope you'll join us next month for another edition of Inside Out here on HTC.
Inside Out is presented by HTC. This is Life. Connect with it. And Magnolia's at 26th for good old-fashioned Southern comfort food where Mama eats. Along with the McGuire Law Firm. Be kind today and tomorrow.